What's up, everybody? Another episode of Walk-Ins Welcome with your hosts, Nick and Michael, and we are excited to help you triple your revenue through digital marketing services, exceptional patient experience. That's what we're all about on this podcast. Michael, what is up, my friend?
What's happening? I mean, I have to say what's up right now is this weather feels
Perfect.
Not
good, not pretty good or okay or what. It's perfect.
Like it's crisp, cool in the morning. It's crisp, cool at night.
Come on.
It's just kind of warm during the day.
That's it.
And I think Saturday, so here we are, this is beginning of October of 2023. And this Saturday, I think it's like in the 40s in the morning and then like the 60s in the afternoon. Like
So it's just awesome.
It's sweater weather.
And it's not too hot during the day, so I can still go out. Like, I can wear shorts if I want to. I'm not uncomfortable in jeans.
Well, my favorite thing to do right now is to take my two fingers and press down on the window button on the car and let them go down.
This in spring, although I prefer fall. A lot of people prefer spring, but spring brings a lot of pollen, and I don't love that.
It's true.
Love the colors, love the flowers and all that. But fall, man, you bring those windows down. You know the heat is behind you, not ahead of you. And in Alabama, it just doesn't get that cold. So
speaking about windows, this will be the transition to the podcast episode.
Windows.
Almost.
I like that.
Close.
Apple.
There
you go.
Not Windows. Apple / not Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and everything that's tied around the world of iPhone.
Specifically, Apple Maps.
Yes.
Specifically Apple Maps. So today's topic today is Apple Maps Matters. All right.
It used to not
even be a blip on the radar.
But it used to be a hot mess.
About a month ago, maybe even not quite a month ago, maybe just a little bit more than a month ago, they totally changed their business platform for businesses to use Apple Maps. And what they're doing is they're taking a bite out of the playbook on what Google Business Profile has been, which is how you get everything on Apple or Google Maps, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not like, it's not even close to Google Maps, and I want to make sure that I reiterate that. If you have to do one or the other, you always 100% of the time, as of now, you go to Google, period, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm going to try and do today is help you get about a 5 to 10% increase in the traffic to your website and to your clinic by optimizing your Apple Maps. Now, there's some things that go along with that, but I'm just making the case today.
And you can do this by yourself.
Yeah, you don't need me. You don't need a company.
You don't need an agency to do this. This is something you can probably, just like you spent time. Actually, technically speaking, this is easier than Google Business Profile because the verification process is old school.
Yeah, it's a phone call.
It's a phone call, which Google Business Profile basically abandoned.
You just have to be ready for that call.
It's an instant call type thing. If you have a automated,
that's the problem. It's not instant. It's like 3 to 5 minutes.
Oh, is
and
it?
You forget you press the button.
Yeah, and then if you have a bunch of calls, you got to warn people. And then if you have an automated thing that picks up before it talks to you, that's a problem. But anyway, no, like this is something you can do yourself. It doesn't. And Apple Maps has been very good about if you already have a Google Business Profile and you may already have like all these other profiles out there. It actually actively pulls stuff and kind of figures it out for you.
Right.
And so you're not sitting there spending a ton of time on it. But like you said, this will give you a little bit extra traffic free of charge.
So let's get some perspective. Let's set the table like we normally do when we're talking about a topic that may be new to the podcast or just new in people's minds. Even though people know Apple Maps, they're like, well, why do I care about Apple Maps? Well, the first thing you should know is the most recent data on sales for iPhones, which is 2022. 225 million iPhones were sold in 2022.
Over half of our population bought an iPhone.
That's right.
Well, I know it's worldwide, but
that's
still
worldwide. That's worldwide.
But that's kind of hard to fathom.
But that doesn't count the existing iPhones that have already been sold. That's just in 2022.
And this is why they make a new one every year.
All right. And now I went to Bard for this information. So up to the most recent data, there are 136 million iPhone users active account iPhone users. I thought it would be more than that.
In America.
That is still a lot. And this is just in America. That's huge. That's a lot of people using iPhones because one, you can take a third of the population. There's 330 million Americans, something like that.
Something like that.
Let's just do 300 million Americans. A third of those people you can just kick out of the system because they're going to be kids or whatever. All right.
So, kids or elderly that don't have a phone.
That's right. And then you look at the population as a whole, and that's well over half of active users that are using iPhones over Android.
And iPhone is one operating system, iOS, and it's one company, Apple.
Right.
And so who's the rest? Probably Android. I would imagine the other half of that is Android, but that's spanning over like 10 or 15 companies that make Android devices. And so it's always like Android and Apple always compete. And Android, generally speaking, worldwide,
it blows it out of the water.
Like has a better market share, but it takes a lot of companies to get there. Apple is just Apple. Like you can't have an iPhone from a different company. It is only Apple. So it's always very impressive. There's a reason why every September you get a new iPhone, every September you get a new iPhone.
That's right.
Because they make 200 million sold every time they do it.
That's a crazy amount sold.
Yeah.
All right, so let me tie that. So there's the data. Let me give you a little bit more context here. Siri, which is the voice virtual assistant, which I just activated on my phone just by saying that, which we'll do that in a minute.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is defaulted to Apple Maps when you use it. So, for example, if you told Siri, I want to navigate to the nearest urgent care, or what's the closest restaurant, or hey, what reservations are available for X, Y, and Z?
Or hey, can you call XYZ? Like
all the time. I use it Michael, I use it all the time.
Yeah, once you learn
Which is why it knows my voice whenever I say it.
Well, and then once you learn it, you don't want to not use it.
That's right. Exactly. And okay, great, but I can just go to Google on my phone. Well, I'm talking about the default for Apple devices, for iPhone users. It defaults to Apple Maps for any of the search, not just some of the search. Like 100% of the search comes from Apple Maps, unless you go into your settings and default it to Google.
Right.
Now, Michael, I'm not talking about Apple search. I'm not talking about Google search. I'm talking about like it all comes out of Apple Maps.
Yeah.
There's no Apple search function.
Yeah.
So 100% of that information comes from Apple Maps. That's not the case for Google. Google has Google search, YouTube, Google Maps. It's pulling from all these different parties. Apple only has Apple Maps. This is the reason I'm bringing that up.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about that, most people don't know how to go in and change defaults or anything.
Right.
Like I even saw an interesting fact. So we all know Marquez.
Yeah.
So
Brownlee. We do, but y'all may not.
MKBHD. Anyway, he is a very, very famous YouTuber. He was actually quoted on the most recent Apple event. Yeah. He didn't know about it.
I know. It's pretty cool.
And so he literally met Tim Cook, said, I didn't know y'all were going to do that. And so that's neat. Anyway, he's a big deal.
You owe me money.
Right? That should be like, where's my check?
Yeah, where's my check?
Because I'm making you more money. Anyway, but he had mentioned, so every year he does a photography contest with all the new phones that come out, like which is the best phone.
Right.
And he discovered, like, one of his things that he discovered that even when people take pictures, because they just don't want to change anything, they don't even tap the screen to focus. They let it figure it out. Mm-hmm. So if you take that simple of a concept that people just want the phone to work and don't want to do anything else, that's going to apply here. Like no one's going to go in and say, I really like Google for search. No, they don't even know where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. They don't care. They just see a result and they go with it. And we know that. Heck, we know that with ads. They just see a result and go with it. They don't know if it's the right result. They think it's the result I need because it's smarter than me.
We hear that all the time when people call up and go, "Oh, I thought you were a different business."
Like, yeah, because you didn't look.
You didn't look at the actual ad.
Yeah.
Well, that's huge, though. So let's continue to connect these dots a little bit. So we know that there's a ridiculous amount of people that use iPhones. You're probably one of them if you're listening to this, just to be honest with you. You meet our demographic that would be using an iPhone.
I don't think I've ever seen a doctor without.
Well, it's for security purposes. Fully secure phone, right?
Yeah.
So 136 million Americans are using iPhones. The default application for search and map is Apple Maps whenever you activate Siri. Okay, I didn't do it this time.
Hey, Siri.
Yeah, it's listening.
It's listening.
All right. So with that, though, over 98% of vehicles sold since 2019 have Apple CarPlay available in it. Okay. We'll talk about what you were telling me earlier in just a second, but 34% of users, of active users, of iPhone users are using their CarPlay in their car. Only 4% of the population here in America use the default system or some other system.
Yep.
So 34% of the users are using CarPlay in their vehicle. Now, you were telling me something earlier about GM, but
So I don't know if it's 2024 or 2025, but GM announced that they are actively removing Apple CarPlay and Android Auto from their entertainment systems.
they don't like the fact that
so
they just lost a customer.
They did.
I use CarPlay every single day.
Well, and I think their reasoning now they'll make the argument our system will be just as good as CarPlay, blah blah blah.
I don't want it. I like my system to be cohesive.
And the argument I think they're making is that if they utilize their own proprietary entertainment system, it can then integrate with the whole vehicle, which I could see the benefits, but you're also just cutting out people who say, "Where's Apple CarPlay?" I feel so bad for those salespeople when they get in the car like, "Oh, where's Apple CarPlay?" They don't do that anymore.
No,
Are you kidding me?
Well, what's killer is on the most recent update, which just came out last week for iOS 17. Mm-hmm. What you just described that GM is doing, Apple just built into its ecosystem. So if the car will talk to it, it'll display your miles per hour. All of your systems. It looks like a Tesla now.
It's Apple's goal is that Apple CarPlay now becomes. If I get into a Mercedes, if I get into a Hyundai, I have the same dash if I want it.
That's right.
That's the goal. Because Apple CarPlay currently does that, right? Because like their interface is the exact same no matter what screen it's on.
That's right.
But now all your vehicles now have like 20-inch wide screens that stretch across the whole dash and display all sorts of stuff. And Apple's goal is like, well, we can just modify that thing, which is like cool, but then you're going to have a harder time for manufacturers. Well, we got the cooler dashboard.
See, if they were wise, they would create an app integration with Apple and Google. I'm not exclusive to Apple. Apple, I actually like Google Android devices. But that being said, they could create a software that when it plugs into their GM or Ford or whatever, they get a unique experience for that.
Yeah, like a customized, like
you can create that.
This is the Ford CarPlay.
Yeah, so here's CarPlay powered by Ford. Here's all the features you get when you buy a Ford. I'm not going to sit here and sell you a car.
No.
I want to talk about CarPlay. So that's funny. The point I'm trying to make though is people are actively using CarPlay,
and it's not slowing down.
It's not.
I mean, because a good example, we have a coworker, Hannah. She had to get a rental car recently because her car's older and it needs some work done. And the rental car was like a new Toyota Corolla.
Right.
A Toyota Corolla. Think about that. That is, to me, the most entry-level vehicle you can buy, and it had Apple CarPlay built in. And she said, "Oh, I could get used to that." She'd never used it before.
Oh, it's glorious.
But within 5 minutes, it connected. Like, she got it all connected. She's like, "Ooh." And I said, "Hey, why don't you talk to it? What do you mean?" And she hits that button, and it's like, doo-doo. And then you just like navigate. So, oh, wow. And it's so seamless. And honestly, every single person that uses Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, typically is probably a safer, less distracted driver because they're not staring at their phone anymore.
So I recently bought my son a vehicle.
Yeah.
You, being the awesome guy that you are.
Yeah, I put in the radio.
You installed the radio for us, which I specifically got for what reason?
Safety.
Why?
Because phones kill people.
Phones kill people, especially 15 and 16-year-olds learning how to drive. I know they're going to text. I'm not stupid. Okay. And if I know that, can I give them a safer way to do it? Yes, I can, because I do it every day and I've modeled it to my children and I've taught them how to do it. Hey Siri, send a message to mom.
Yeah.
Tell her I said hello, whatever, and just activate it now. But the point is, it's like you do that through your car. I never even looked off of the road, and I can still send that text. Hey, read that text message that came through, and it reads it to me.
And then you'll hear people say, "Well, I don't want to plug my phone in anytime I get a car." Well, that's been fixed. It's called wireless CarPlay. The radio I put in your son's car, which was not an expensive radio, by the way. It connects instantly. You do nothing.
Right.
You can leave the phone in your pocket.
Yeah, and it's in a 2008 vehicle, by the way. Just to make a note of that, we completely modernized a vehicle into the 21st century modern tech, 2023, in a 2008 Toyota. Anyway, let's keep going. So, all right, I'm making the case. Apple Maps is important. The default is Siri. People are using it in their hands. People are using their cars. So let's do it real quick and show the difference in the results. So I've got my phone up right now.
If you're watching on YouTube, you will be impressed.
Right. So here we go. Hey Siri, what is the closest urgent care to me? And it sent a list of MedHelp, UAB Urgent Care, Cooper Green Mercy, American Family Care, Urgent Care for Children in Vestavia. But anyway, it says Apple Maps at the top, and MedHelp is the first one, and I can hit a button and get directions right there. Okay, so now
so just imagine this: you're in your car and you realize you need to look up an urgent care near you while you're driving because your child's sick or whatever. You'll just hit the button and talk.
That's right.
You're not going to pull out your phone every time, go to your web browser, go to Google and type it in every time.
Correct.
This is that rare, those not rare, but the less common situation because of convenience. And so you said MedHelp was the first result.
MedHelp was the first result whenever I did that search using my voice.
Urgent care near me.
Through the default setting on my phone.
Yep.
Okay. I just went to Google and I said urgent care near me, which is how people search for urgent cares. You need to rank that way. American Family Care is first. St. Vincent's Urgent Care is second. MedHelp is third. Okay. So they showed up first on Apple. So they became the default first position, but they showed up third on Google Maps. There were 2 businesses ahead of them. So MedHelp had the foresight, the forethought to go get Apple Maps optimized.
And they're not a client.
They're not. No, they're not.
No,
I wish if you're in, listen, call us. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make though is that they had the forethought to go out and get their Apple Maps up to date. And even though it's not a market share, we know that we've already made the case that you need to be on Google first. All right. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that percentage of us, that 34% of us that are actively using it would have gone to MedHelp first because it was the first position that popped up.
Yep.
And when I'm driving or I'm paying attention to Siri, I'm going to go with what it recommends to me, just like you do with Google.
Well, and that's the thing too that we also fully recognize especially in the urgent care business, brand loyalty isn't there. Mm-hmm. It's convenience and it's immediate need. So I was even talking to a client where he says he's like, we have all of our buildings have our logo on it, but we've recognized that the big giant red letters urgent care is what people look for
100% of the time. If you don't have that on the side of your building, if you're called a family care or MedHelp, like we were talking about just now, somewhere on that building you need to have urgent care.
Same thing with emergency room. It may be UAB ER, freestanding ER, but big red letters, emergency room. So anyway, that's a completely different topic. But there you go. Within, like just now, we just showed you guys right now. Hit pause on the podcast.
Before you pause it, give them the instructions.
Well, this is true. Hit play. Come back. Sorry, I had a drop on this episode.
I know, right?
Before you hit pause, pull out your phone. Please don't be driving, and know how to activate Siri. Right? Most of you probably say, or I can say, "Hey Siri." It probably just turned on.
It did.
So I just turned on your Apple, maybe your iPhone. Hey Siri, what is the closest urgent care near me? And now hit pause and try.
Yeah, try it on your own and see if your clinic is ranking there.
And if you are sitting in your parking lot and it doesn't find you as number 1, please go fix that.
Yeah, we got to fix that. We're here to tell you the truth on that. But this is the most important thing I can tell you today is this is how people are searching now, and it's growing every single year. People are talking to Alexa. People are saying, okay, Google. People are talking to Siri. People are talking to their devices as much as, not more than, but as much as they are typing things.
You know what? I wonder if this would be a fun little experiment where if you were an urgent care and you're trying to figure out your holes in terms of neighborhoods that you may or may not be reaching with your marketing, what if you drove into those neighborhoods and just asked Siri what's the closest urgent care until you found one that did not list you, and then that put some extra effort in it, maybe ad related.
Bonus hack for you. You ready? This isn't written down, but I have my team do this every time they come into the office, is tell Siri or Google or whatever to give you directions, and it'll give them directions, and both Google and Apple register that somebody is looking for directions to your office, and it'll constantly give you credit for that in your rankings. That's just a bonus hack.
And if you don't believe that, if you log into Google Business Profile, they give you stats on people asking for directions.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you have 100 one month, but a 500 the next month, it's going to say, something's more important about this location.
That's it.
It's a little small hack. We actually tell our clients about it pretty regularly where, hey, if you want to help yourself, do this as well.
Yeah. I know you know where you work. But just let the thing take you there. Yep. It'll reroute you if you want to go through Starbucks. I don't care. All right. So Here's I've told you the pros. This is more of a neutral, maybe a con, depending on how you look at it. But it is important.
It is important if it's good or bad.
Yeah, it is important. Apple pulls its information from Yelp. I'm sorry.
That hurts.
Yeah, that's just hard to say.
So are we saying Google's number one and Yelp's number two, and Apple Maps is trying to be number two?
Yeah, well, Apple is pulling that data from Yelp. So the problem here is you have to not only fill out your Apple information, you lean on Yelp for your reviews. And that sucks.
Yeah, because Apple is a direct competitor to Google, and they're not going to share data.
No,
they're just not.
Google will not load the reviews. But have you ever noticed that when you do a search in the organic, one of the first things that pop up is Yelp?
Yeah,
Yelp and Solve, but Yelp.
I was say, what if we can get Solve? Solve's growing. What if we can get Apple to lean on Solve for their reviews for the medical industry?
I mean, what if? That's a great question.
Hey, April.
We'll call April up. Anyway, that being said, though,
just thinking,
Yelp ranks really, really well on Google because Google doesn't consider Yelp a competitor. So going in and making sure that your Yelp business profile is up to date with images, because it's going to pull your images from there too. Although you can go add them to your profile, it is going to default pull pictures from your Yelp business directory. It's going to pull reviews from your Yelp. And here's the problem. Urgent cares, listen up. It's mainly y'all. Your Yelp reviews suck. I'm sorry. I love you. That's why I'm telling you the truth. Your Yelp reviews suck. You spend so much time on your Google reviews getting them positive, and you put zero effort into the loudest, most obnoxious community, which is Yelp.
And I will say this, like, I think Yelp people go there to die with their reviews.
They do. They're looking for a way to put a 1-star up.
And Yelp is really, don't pay for Yelp, please.
No.
If you start paying for
I have
Yelp,
mixed emotions about that. We're doing it for one of our urgent cares, and we're seeing pretty good results. So, back to Yelp later.
I was about to say, but I will say on the Yelp side, they are bad. If you are paying for their premium service and then you quit paying for your premium service, all of a sudden they flip the script on your reviews.
Where all the 1-stars up top.
They put the 1-stars up top and they focus on the 1-stars, not the 5-stars.
Yep, they do.
And that's dirty. But it is one of those things, like, yes, Apple Maps is looking at Yelp reviews, but I can guarantee you that your volume is still Google reviews.
It is, for sure. 100%. 100%.
But for the Apple Maps side, Yelp is important. It's just frustrating at the end of the day.
Which brings us to our very last point of the episode, Michael, and that is most local businesses, the direct Apple traffic, most of it's going to come from Google and Yelp, but I'm just talking about Apple people, Apple traffic, iPhone users. But if you do this, you can see around a 5% increase in your traffic. So if you think about, like, okay, we have this dialed in, we're ranking in first position on Google. I need to do something that's going to throw me just a little bit over the edge. Optimize your Apple Maps, and you should see about a 5% increase in traffic. I specifically, when I was pulling this data off of Bard, okay, which is an AI tool by Google, I specifically said medical clinic, right? So medical clinic was when I was asking the traffic increase. And it said about a 5% increase in local traffic from Apple Maps if you go in and you optimize it. So there you go. It's our job to help you do better on the internet. 5% increase in your bottom line does not suck. I'll take that all day. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're already seeing 40 patients a day, you just added potentially two more patients to your mix, which is 60 more patients a month, which to me is, now you're talking 700 new patients a year.
For spending 1 hour optimizing Yelp and optimizing Apple Maps.
And if you're making net profit of $10 a patient, we'll just say that number, you made an extra you are now being paid $7,000 an hour to work on Apple Maps.
Man, if that math doesn't work out for you, let me know. We'll try and figure out.
I should name the episode "Apple Maps Matters - the $7,000 Problem."
Hey, you can name it whatever you want. All I did is build the content, and we are here for you. Hey, we really want to make sure, guys, that y'all are taking the content that we're providing and putting it into application. That's what we care about most. Yes. It doesn't matter what we say if you don't take it and apply it. So let us know. Did you, or are you, will you, whatever, put this into practice? Let us know. Hello@patientcaremarketingpros.com. Let us know what you did, or even if you have any questions about Apple Maps.
Yep.
Yep. The last thing I want to do is just say we can't do this podcast without your reviews. That's how we grow. It's 100% organic. So if you'll go into Apple Podcast or wherever you go, Spotify.
Please listen on Spotify too, because it doesn't let you review stuff if you just go to it.
That's right. So a 5-star would be amazing. And I just found out we're getting really good view volume on YouTube. So we're putting all this content on YouTube. So apparently y'all like the way we look better than you like the way we sound. Most people say I have a face for radio. I don't know. Call me crazy.
What's interesting, now that I think about it, our views on YouTube are slowly catching up to our listens on the podcast.
That's it.
And we know these are different people, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, please the reviews definitely help us. At the end of the day, there is another Walk-Ins Welcome podcast out there.
It's political, though.
And
we'll
never fully trump them, but you know what we will do? When you start looking up medical podcasts, we're showing up a little bit, so more reviews help.
Hey, thank you all for leaving us a review. Thank you for listening. Share it with your friends, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
See ya.